Captain Adam Hayes had always expected the strange and unexpected on his missions, but nothing could prepare him for the events that unfolded on the distant planet of Kalara 9. As part of a peacekeeping force, Adam's team had been tasked with exploring a newly discovered planet. The mission was straightforward: survey the land, make contact with any alien life forms, and report back. But when they landed, nothing was as expected. The ground beneath their boots was a strange purple hue, with towering trees stretching into the sky, unlike anything Adam had seen before. As his boots crunched softly on the alien soil, Adam looked around, taking in the new world. His squad was on high alert, weapons ready, but there was no sign of danger. The air was thick with an unfamiliar smell, a mix of sweet and earthy scents. Suddenly, a voice broke the silence. It was soft but urgent, calling out in a language Adam couldn't understand. At first he thought it was a trap, but the voice didn't seem threatening. It was desperate. "Help! Please!" Turning towards the sound, Adam's eyes locked on a figure stumbling toward him from the shadows of the trees. A woman, or at least what appeared to be a woman. But she was different. Her skin shimmered in shades of green and blue, with intricate patterns that resembled tattoos but seemed alive, shifting under her skin. Her eyes were an intense gold, glowing softly in the dim light, and her hair was like silver strands of moonlight flowing down her back. She collapsed before Adam, her body trembling with exhaustion. His instincts kicked in and he rushed forward, kneeling beside her. "Hey, take it easy," Adam said, his voice calm and steady, though his heart raced in his chest. "What happened to you?" The woman looked up at him with eyes filled with pain and desperation. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Her breathing was shallow, and Adam could see the dark marks on her skin, bruises, burns, and cuts that were clearly from some violent struggle. Her strange clothes were torn, and she seemed to be struggling to stay conscious. I need your help," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Adam motioned for his team to move in. "We need to get her back to the ship, now." His team quickly set to work, carefully lifting the woman and carrying her to their transport. Despite the strange situation, Adam couldn't shake the feeling that there was something important about this encounter. Something that was far beyond the typical missions he had been on. As they made their way back to the ship, Adam tried to speak with the woman, but she only spoke in her alien tongue, and he couldn't understand. She seemed to be murmuring something, over and over, though it was too faint to catch. He couldn't help but feel that she wasn't just some random survivor. There was a story behind her, a story she wasn't yet ready to tell. Once aboard the ship, they laid her in the medical bay. The ship's doctor, Dr. Helena Briggs, quickly took charge, examining the woman with practiced efficiency. She spoke to Adam in a low voice. "She's been through a lot, Adam. Her injuries are severe, but I think she'll survive. We need to keep her under observation for a while." Adam nodded, but couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this. Woman's presence than a simple rescue. His instincts told him that this wasn't an ordinary encounter. There was something about her, something about the way she had looked at him, the urgency in her eyes, that made Adam believe this was just the beginning of something much bigger. Hours passed as the woman remained unconscious, her breathing steady but slow. Adam stood in the doorway of the medical bay, watching her. His mind raced with questions. Who was she? Where had she come from? And most importantly, why had she called for his help? As the night wore on, the woman slowly regained consciousness. Her eyes fluttered open and she looked around, confused and disoriented. Adam stepped into the room, careful not to startle her. "Hey, take it easy," he said softly. "You're safe now." She turned her head slowly towards him, her eyes locked onto his, and for a brief moment, it was as if time stood still. The connection was instant. A strange feeling surged through Adam, one he couldn't explain. The warmth of her gaze seemed to pull him in, as if her very presence was magnetic. She whispered something again in her alien language, her voice hoarse and weak. Adam shook his head, unable to understand. But the desperation in her voice was clear. "Please," she said, her voice trembling. "Please help me. I need you." Adam didn't know what to make of it. This woman, an alien, was pleading with him for something. But what was it? And why did he feel as though the fate of more than just her was hanging in the balance? Before Adam could speak, the woman's lips parted once more. I'm pregnant," she whispered. Adam froze. The weight of her words hit him hard, and his mind raced to comprehend what she was saying. Pregnant? With his child? The thought was shocking, but her pleading gaze left him no room to doubt the seriousness of her words. "I'm pregnant with your baby," she repeated, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Please, marry me. It's the only way." Adam blinked, trying to process what he had just heard. Was this some kind of trick? Or was there something more to her words, then? He understood. Her golden eyes never left his, pleading for him to understand. Adam's heart pounded in his chest. This was no ordinary situation. The woman, this alien, needed him. And whether he liked it or not, the choices he made from this moment onward would affect more than just his own life. Adam stood in the medical. "Bay!" the words of the alien woman still ringing in his ears. "I'm pregnant with your baby," she had said. It was almost impossible to believe. He had been trained for many things, but never for this. Never for a situation that seemed so alien, so far outside of his experience. The woman, whose name he still didn't know, lay in the medical bed, her eyes closed as though she was waiting for him to say something. Anything. Adam felt a deep unease settle in his stomach. He had been through countless dangerous missions, but none had ever thrown him off balance like this. How could this be real? How could an alien woman, one he had never met, be pregnant with his child? "Adam, you need to think about this," Dr. Briggs said softly, her voice pulling him out of his spiraling thoughts. She had been standing in the doorway, watching him closely. "This is beyond anything we could have anticipated. The whole situation is complicated." "I know," Adam replied, his voice tight. He turned back toward the woman, his gaze never leaving her. There was something about her, something deep and intense, that kept him from looking away. Her skin shimmered with a strange beauty, her gold eyes full of emotion that was both foreign and deeply familiar. It was as if she was trying to tell him something, but he couldn't quite understand it. Dr. Briggs stepped closer. "What I mean is, this could change everything. If she's telling the truth, if you are the father, we have no idea what this means for us or for her. There's a lot we need to figure out." Adam nodded slowly. He understood. This wasn't just a matter of saving her life anymore. This was about more than one person, more than one planet, and more than just the immediate danger. This could have consequences that stretched across the universe. The woman stirred in the bed, her eyes fluttering open again. Slowly, she turned her head toward Adam. "Please," she whispered again, her voice still weak but filled with an undeniable sense of urgency. "You have to understand. I need your help." Adam took a deep breath. He had always been a man of action, trained to make tough decisions. But this was something entirely different. "I'm trying to understand," he said quietly, his words honest. "But it's hard. I didn't know you. I didn't even know you existed before today." Her golden eyes met his, and she gave a small, tired smile. "I know, but it doesn't matter. What matters now is that our people are dying. We're at the edge of extinction, and this..." She placed a trembling hand on her stomach. "This child is the last hope for my species. And for that, you must stay with me. You must marry me." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Adam's mind raced as he tried to piece together what she was asking. The idea of marriage, of union, was so far beyond what he had ever considered. He was a soldier. He had been trained to fight, to defend, not to form bonds like the one she was asking for. Yet something in her words resonated deep within him, pulling him closer to her in a way he couldn't explain. "What do you mean, marry?" he asked, his voice soft but firm. "Why is that the only way?" Her expression grew more serious, and she struggled to sit up in the bed, her body weak from her injuries and exhaustion. Adam quickly reached out to steady her. "You don't need to do that," he said, but she insisted. "We do things differently where I come from," she explained, her voice quieter now, almost as though she was sharing a secret. "Our people cannot survive alone. We must unite with other species to stay alive. And the child we're having, it will bridge the gap between our two races. My people believe that if you and I form a bond, if you marry me, the child will be our salvation. Without this union, we will be lost forever." Adam felt a knot tighten in his chest. The idea of this child being the key to saving an entire alien species was difficult to accept, but her sincerity, her desperation, was impossible to ignore. His mind flashed back to his training, to the countless missions where lives were at stake. But this was different. This wasn't just about a mission, this was personal. "I don't know if I'm the right person for this, Ada," M said, his voice filled with uncertainty. "I don't know how to be a part of something like this." The woman's golden eyes softened, and she reached out, her hand gently touching his arm. "You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing to help. That's all I'm asking. We're running out of time." Adam looked down at her hand on his arm, then back into her eyes. The connection between them felt real, undeniable. He could see the fear in her gaze, the hope, the desperation. It wasn't just about saving her people. It was about saving them both. "I'll help," he said finally, his voice steady. "I'll do what I can." A small sigh of relief escaped her lips. She smiled weakly. "Thank you. That's all I need. Together, we can make a difference." Adam nodded slowly, his mind still racing with questions. But one thing was clear. He had made a choice. He didn't know what the future held, but for the first time, he was truly invested in something, beyond his own life. He would do whatever it took to help her, and maybe, just maybe, he would find answers in the process. The universe had a way of changing things when you least expected it. And Adam Hayes had a feeling that this mission, this unexpected, complicated journey, would change everything, forever. Days passed, and Adam's life seemed to be turning into something he couldn't fully understand. The crew aboard the ship had grown quiet as they continued their journey back to the alien woman's home planet, Kalara 9. Adam had always been a soldier, someone who followed orders and did his job with precision. But this was unlike anything he had ever faced. His mind was constantly on the woman who had claimed that he was the father of her child. She wasn't just some stranger anymore. She was Vela, someone he had come to care for in ways he couldn't explain. As the ship hurtled through the vastness of space, Adam found himself drawn to her more and more. She was still recovering from her injuries, but she was determined to help her people. Despite her weakened state, she continued to share stories about her home planet, her culture, and the history of her people. Her species, the Valorans, had once been a thriving civilization, but now they were on the brink of extinction. They had been torn apart by a long-standing war with another alien race, and their population had dwindled to near nothing. The Valorans believed that the child she carried, the child of a human, was their last hope for survival. According to her people's beliefs, the child would bring unity between their species, something they desperately needed. "I never wanted this," Vela had told Adam one evening, her voice soft and filled with sadness. But when the elders told me, the prophecy, I knew that I had no choice. My people are dying, Adam. Without this child, we will cease to exist. I didn't want to burden you with this, but I had no choice. Adam listened quietly. He could see the weight of her words, the pain in her eyes. He had never been a man to shy away from a challenge, but this was different. This was not a fight against an enemy. This was about survival, about something far beyond his understanding. He hadn't asked for any of this, but Vela had trusted him with more than just her life. She had trusted him with the future of her people. I don't know if I can live up to what you expect of me, Adam confessed one night as the stars outside the ship's window blinked by. I don't know how to be a part of this union. It's all so sudden, Vela. Everything's so different. Vela looked at him with those golden eyes that seemed to understand his every fear. You don't have to do anything you don't want to, she said gently. You just need to be there. For me. For the child. That's all I ask. Despite his fears, Adam felt something stir inside him, something that told him he could no longer walk away. He had made a promise to her, and he couldn't break it. He didn't understand what was happening, but he felt an undeniable connection to Vela. Whether it was fate or something deeper, he didn't know. All he knew was that he couldn't leave her alone, not now. As they neared Kalara 9, Adam could see the tension on Vela's face. The closer they got to her planet, the more worried she seemed. She had told him that the Valorans had strict traditions and they wouldn't accept a human in their midst so easily. The marriage, if it was even considered a marriage, wasn't just a formality. It was a symbol of peace, something her people desperately needed. The ship finally entered the planet's atmosphere, and Adam's heart beat faster. Vela seemed to sense his unease and took his hand in hers, giving him a reassuring smile. It'll be okay, she said softly. We will be fine. You are my choice, Adam. No one else. Her words, though gentle, carried a heavy weight. As the ship descended, Adam could see the vast cities of Kalara 9 stretching out beneath them. The landscape was beautiful, with towering structures made of glass and metal, surrounded by wide green fields and shimmering rivers. Despite the destruction her people had suffered, the planet still held the promise of a bright future. When they landed, Vela stood beside Adam, her hand still holding his. The moment they stepped out of the ship, a group of Valoran leaders approached, their expressions unreadable. They were tall, with similar features to Vela, shimmering skin, bright eyes, and long flowing hair. Their gaze was intense, but there was also something in their eyes that Adam couldn't quite place. Was it hope? Or was it something more? One of the leaders, a woman with silver hair and piercing blue eyes, stepped forward. Vela, you have returned, she said, her voice calm but commanding. And you bring with you a human? Vela nodded. Yes, Elder. This is Captain Adam Hayes. He is the father of my child, and he is here to unite with us. The Elder's eyes narrowed as she studied Adam. The silence between them stretched on for what felt like forever. Adam stood tall, trying to maintain his composure despite the intense pressure that hung in the air. He wasn't sure what he expected, but the way the Valorans looked at him made it clear that this wasn't going to be an easy path. The Elder spoke again, her voice more firm this time. A human. This is unexpected. But if you are indeed the father, then you have a role to play here. Our people have long awaited this moment. Adam didn't know what that role was, but he knew one thing. He wasn't going to back down. He had made a promise to Vela, and now he had to see it through. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them with her. I will do whatever it takes, Adam said, his voice steady. For you, for the child, for your people." Vela's eyes shone with a quiet, unspoken gratitude as she turned to face the leaders. "Then let us begin. We have much to do." And with that, the future of two species and the future of the child they both carried began to unfold before them. The days that followed were filled with uncertainty and tension. Adam found himself caught in the whirlwind of Velaran culture, their rules, and their customs. It was a world unlike anything he had ever known, and it felt like everything was moving too fast. There were meetings with the elders, discussions about the future of their species, and countless questions Adam didn't have answers to. The pressure was beginning to weigh on him, but through it all, he found a sense of purpose. He had made a promise to Vela, and he intended to keep it. Vela, for her part, had remained calm and resolute. She was the beacon of strength in this strange place, and Adam couldn't help but admire her. Even though she was carrying their child and had been through so much, she stood tall, never faltering in her belief that this child was the key to saving her people. Her determination inspired him, and slowly, Adam began to feel the same sense of responsibility. The future of their two species, however complicated, now rested in his hands as much as hers. The first official ceremony was held in the grand hall of the Veloran city. The hall itself was unlike anything Adam had ever seen, vast and filled with towering pillars that seemed to stretch all the way to the sky. The walls were adorned with intricate carvings and symbols that Adam didn't understand, each telling the story of their people. In the center of the hall stood a large platform, where the most important ceremonies were held. It was here that Vela and Adam would make their union official. Adam stood beside Vela, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. Her skin shimmered under the soft light of the hall, and her golden eyes shone with an emotion he couldn't quite place. There was a quiet strength in her gaze, one that made Adam feel both proud and nervous at the same time. He had never been one for ceremonies, especially not ones like this. But he couldn't back out now. He had agreed to this, and he would stand by her no matter what. The elders of the Veloran people stood at the front, watching them with keen eyes. The silence in the hall was heavy, each moment stretching on like an eternity. The elder who had spoken to them earlier, the one with silver hair, stepped forward again. Her gaze swept over Adam before she spoke, her voice echoing in the quiet room. "The union of a human and a Velaran is not something we take lightly," she said, her voice firm yet measured. "This is a bond that will be tested in ways we cannot predict. It is a union that must be formed for the survival of our people, and it will be held to the highest of standards." Adam could feel the weight of her words, but he didn't let it show. He kept his focus on Vela, his heart pounding in his chest. There was something about her presence that grounded him, something that made him feel like maybe, just maybe, this was where he was meant to be. Despite the uncertainty, he felt like they were each part of something bigger, something that could bring hope to both their worlds. The elder continued. "Do you, Adam Hayes, agree to unite with Vela, to become one with her for the sake of her people and the future of both your species?" Adam took a deep breath. This wasn't something he had prepared for, but it wasn't a choice he could back away from. His eyes never left Vela's as he spoke. "I do," he said firmly. "I will stand by her, and for the child." Elder nodded, her expression unreadable. She turned to Vela. "And do you, Vela of the Velorans, agree to unite with this human, to bond with him for the future of your people and the child you carry?" Vela's golden eyes met Adam's, and for a brief moment, it felt like the whole world had faded away. All that mattered was the connection they shared, the unspoken bond that had grown between them in such a short time. She smiled softly, her voice steady and filled with purpose. "I do." The ceremony proceeded, though. Adam couldn't remember much of it. It felt surreal, like a dream he couldn't wake up from. There were words spoken in the Valoran language, rituals he didn't fully understand, and gestures that seemed to carry deep meaning. But through it all, Adam kept his focus on Vela. She was the reason he was here. She was the reason he had agreed to this union. When the ceremony finally ended, Adam felt both a sense of relief and a sense of weight. This was just the beginning, he knew. The union had been sealed, but there was still so much more to come. Vela's people would now look to them for guidance. They would expect their union to be the bridge between their two worlds, and Adam wasn't sure he was ready for all that responsibility. Vela seemed to sense his hesitation. As they stepped down from the platform, she took his hand in hers, her grip firm and reassuring. "You don't have to carry all of this alone," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "We're in this together. You and me, and with the child, we will make a difference." Her words comforted him more than he expected. He had always been a soldier, always relied on his training, his instincts. But this was different. This was about something far greater than any mission he had ever been on. This was about the future, and now he was in this with Vela. They were in this together. As the ceremony came to a close and the hall began to empty, Adam couldn't shake the feeling that the real challenges were just beginning. But for the first time in a long while, he felt a spark of hope. He had made the right choice. He would stand by Vela, and together, they would face whatever came next. Whatever trials awaited them, they would face it as one. The days that followed. The ceremony were filled with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. Adam's life, once simple and predictable, was now a whirlwind of new experiences and challenges. The Valoran people looked to him and Vela with both awe and skepticism, as though they were waiting to see what would happen next. There was no denying that their union was seen as a symbol of hope, but it also brought with it great expectations. Adam and Vela had spent most of their time together in the days after the ceremony. They attended meetings with the elders, discussed plans for the future, and participated in the many rituals of Valoran culture. But despite all the activity around them, Adam often found himself lost in thought. The weight of his new responsibilities was heavy, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he was still a stranger in this world. One afternoon, as they walked through the grand gardens of the Valoran city, Vela stopped and turned to Adam, her expression serious. "You've been quiet," she said gently. "What's on your mind?" Adam sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I'm not sure I'm the right person for all this. I came here to help, but it feels like I'm in over my head. These people, they're looking to us to save them, and I'm not sure I have what it takes." Vela smiled softly and placed a hand on his arm. "You've already done more than most would ever dream of. You've stood by me when no one else would. That's all that matters." Adam looked at her, his eyes filled with doubt. "But what if it's not enough? What if we fail?" Vela's golden eyes softened as she stepped closer to him. "We won't fail, not because of you. You've already shown them that humans can be trusted. You've shown them that we can work together. And that is more than enough." Her words gave him a small sense of peace, but Adam still couldn't shake the feeling of responsibility that seemed to weigh him down. The Valoran people had placed their hopes on him and Vela, and the pressure was growing every day. That evening, they were summoned to a meeting with the Valoran leaders. Adam felt his nerves tighten as they walked into the grand hall. The elders were already seated, their eyes watching them carefully. Adam could sense that they were waiting for something, waiting for them to prove their worth. The lead elder, the one with silver hair and piercing blue eyes, spoke first. "Vela, Adam, the time has come for us to make a decision. Your union is the symbol of hope for our people, but we need to know if you are truly committed. We need to know if you can lead us into the future." Adam stood tall, trying to push down the nervousness that was building in his chest. He had never been much for speeches, never been someone who spoke in front of crowds. But now was the time to show them he could do more than just fight. He had to show them he was capable of leading, of protecting. "I will do whatever it takes," he said, his voice steady. "For Vela, for her people, and for the future of both our species. I won't let you down." The elder nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Words are one thing, but actions speak louder. We need to see proof. You've already shown us that you can fight alongside us. Now we need to see that you can lead." Adam felt a pang of uncertainty, but he didn't let it show. "What do you need me to do?" The elder leaned forward, her gaze piercing. "The war with the Illyrians is far from over. We are still outnumbered and outgunned, and their forces are preparing for a final assault. We need your help to secure our future. If you can lead us to victory in this final battle, we will know you are worthy of our trust." The words hit Adam like a hammer. This wasn't just about a peaceful union anymore. This was about war. And, for the first time since arriving on Kalara 9, Adam felt a deep sense of fear. He had been a soldier for years, but leading an entire people into battle, especially an alien race, was a challenge like no other. Vela, sensing his hesitation, placed a hand on his shoulder. "We're in this together," she said softly. "You don't have to do this alone." Adam looked at her, feeling the weight of her trust in him. He had promised to protect her, to protect the child they were carrying, and now he had to keep that promise. Not just to her, but to an entire species. The Illyrians had been a constant threat to the Valorans, and if Adam didn't step up now, there might not be a future for anyone. "All right," Adam said, his voice firm. "I'll do it. I'll help you win this war. I'll lead your people into battle." The elder nodded. "Then we will begin preparations immediately. The fate of our people rests in your hands." As the meeting ended and they left the hall, Adam couldn't shake the feeling of fear that gripped him. He had never led a battle like this, and the stakes were higher than anything he had ever faced. But there was no turning back now. The future of the Valoran people, and of his child, depended on what he did next. Vela stayed by his side, her hand in his, as they walked back to their quarters. "You can do this," she said softly. "I believe in you." Adam squeezed her hand, trying to find the strength he knew he needed. "I'm not sure I believe in myself, but I'll try. For you. For the child. For your people." Together, they would face the challenges ahead. And no matter what came, Adam knew he wouldn't be facing them alone. The battle had begun, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. Adam stood at the front lines, his heart pounding in his chest. He had never imagined himself in this position, leading a battle for the survival of an entire species. But here he was. The Valorans were counting on him, and so was Vela. The child she carried, their child, was the symbol of hope for both their people. Adam couldn't fail. He wouldn't fail. The battlefield stretched out before him, a vast expanse of rocky terrain, with the towering Valoran city behind them. Adam's team, a mix of human soldiers and Valoran warriors, stood ready for the conflict that was about to unfold. The Illyrians, the enemy force that had been threatening the Valorans for years, were approaching fast. Their ships filled the sky, casting shadows over the land as they prepared to strike. Adam knew the Valorans couldn't win this war alone. They needed help, and they needed it now. "Ready yourself, Captain," said Vela, her voice steady despite the tension that filled the air. She stood beside him, a fierce determination in her eyes. Adam turned to look at her, and for a moment, everything else seemed to fade away. He could see the strength in her, the quiet confidence that had drawn him to her from the very beginning. The bond between them was undeniable, and now it was more important than ever. "I won't let anything happen to you or the baby," Adam said. His voice low but full of conviction. He wasn't just fighting for the Valorans or the future of their species. He was fighting for her, for the life they were about to bring into the world. "I know," Vela replied softly. "And you won't have to. We fight together." As the first wave of Illyrian ships descended from the sky, Adam gave the signal to attack. The Valoran soldiers, led by Adam's team, moved quickly into position, their weapons ready. The air was thick with the sound of battle cries, the hum of energy shields, and the thundering noise of weapons fire. Adam's pulse quickened as he ran alongside his soldiers, moving toward the advancing enemy. The first clash came quickly. Illyrian forces landed, their heavily armored soldiers pouring out from their ships and charging forward. The Valorans were ready, but Adam knew that they were outnumbered. His heart raced as he fought, his training kicking in as he led his team into the fray. Energy blasts lit up the sky, and the ground shook with the force of the battle. Despite the odds, Adam kept moving, his focus never wavering. Vela's voice echoed in his earpiece. "We need to take the high ground. It's the only way to turn the tide." Adam glanced up at the distant hilltop, where Illyrian snipers had set up a stronghold. It was a dangerous position, but he knew it was their best chance. He quickly gave the order to his team, and they moved toward the hill. The battle raged on around them, but Adam's thoughts were clear. He had to get to the high ground and protect Vela. She was too important to be caught in the thick of the fight. The journey to the hill was treacherous. Every step felt like a lifetime, with enemy fire raining down on them. Adam's soldiers were falling one by one, but they pushed forward. He couldn't let them die in vain. The child Vela carried, the future of their people, was depending on him, and he wasn't going to let it slip away. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Adam and his team reached the high ground. From this vantage point, they could see the entire battlefield laid out before them. The Illyrians were still advancing, but their movements were less organized now. With the high ground secured, Adam and his soldiers began to fight with renewed strength, pushing back the enemy forces. Vela was still with him, her presence a constant reminder of why he was fighting. She had stayed by his side through it all, even when the battle seemed hopeless. Adam knew she was more than just his partner in this fight. She was his strength, his reason to keep going. As the Illyrian forces began to retreat, Adam felt a rush of relief. The battle wasn't over, but the tide had shifted in their favor. The Valorans had won a crucial victory, but at a great cost. Many had fallen, and the road ahead was still uncertain. But for the first time, Adam felt a sense of hope. They had done it. Together, they had won. The days after the battle were filled with both grief and celebration. The Valorans mourned their fallen warriors, but they also celebrated their hard-earned victory. Adam and Vela stood side by side, their bond stronger than ever. They had fought not just for survival, but for the future of both their species. And as they looked to the horizon, they knew that their fight was far from over. But for now, they could breathe a little easier. Vela placed a hand on her stomach where their child grew and smiled up at Adam. "We did it," she said softly. Adam nodded, his heart swelling with pride. "We did," he replied, "and we'll keep fighting. For you, for the baby, for the future." Together they had faced the darkest of times and emerged victorious. And as the sun set over the battlefield, Adam knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them as one. Months passed, and life on Kalara 9 began to change. After the battle, there was a sense of calm that settled over the planet. The Valorans had secured a hard-won peace, and the Illyrians had been pushed back. Adam, Vela, and the others had given their all for this moment, and now the future seemed filled with possibility. But Adam knew the fight wasn't over. There were still challenges to face, and the road ahead was uncertain. Vela's pregnancy had progressed, and though she was more tired than usual, there was an undeniable sense of joy that surrounded her. Adam couldn't help but smile every time he saw her. She was strong, but there were times when she looked so vulnerable, and Adam found himself protective of her in a way he had never imagined. He had made a promise to keep her safe, and he would see it through. One afternoon, as they sat together in the quiet garden near their quarters, Vela rested her hand on her swollen belly. "The baby is getting stronger," she said softly, a warm smile on her face. "I can feel it. I think it knows we're getting closer to peace." Adam watched her closely, his heart full of emotion. He had never been someone to easily express his feelings, but in moments like this, with Vela by his side, words seemed unnecessary. He knew how much the child meant to her, and now it meant just as much to him. "I can't wait to meet our child," Adam said, his voice filled with awe. "I never thought I'd be part of something like this, a new beginning, a new hope." Vela leaned her head on his shoulder, and for a brief moment, they sat in silence, listening to the wind rustling through the trees. It was a peaceful moment, one that Adam cherished more than he could explain. There was something about Kalara 9, about this place, that felt like home now. It wasn't the place he had expected to find peace, but it was where he had found it. The quiet moment was interrupted by the sound of footsteps approaching. Adam turned to see one of the elder Valorans, the same silver-haired woman who had spoken at their ceremony, walking toward them with a serious expression on her face. "Adam, Vela," the elder greeted them with a nod. "There is something important we must discuss." Vela straightened, her brow furrowing in concern. "What is it, elder?" The elder's gaze shifted between Adam and Vela, and for a moment she hesitated. "The Illyrians have regrouped. They are not completely defeated, and there are rumors that they are planning another attack. It may not come soon, but we must be prepared." Adam felt a sharp pang of worry. Just when they had started to feel safe, the threat had returned. He knew that the Valorans weren't fully equipped to defend themselves against another major conflict. This time, it wasn't just about protecting the planet. It was about protecting their future. The child they were expecting had to be safe. Vela's people needed peace, and they needed it now. "We're ready for whatever comes," Adam said firmly, standing up from the bench. "We can't let them take everything we've fought for." Vela stood by his side, her expression resolute. "We've come too far to go back now. We won't let them destroy what we've built." The elder nodded in agreement. "We need a strategy. The Valorans alone cannot defeat the Illyrians. But with you, Adam, and your people, we have a chance." Adam's mind raced. He had been through countless battles, but this time it wasn't just about survival. This was personal. It was about the future of the family he was starting with Vela. He wasn't going to let anyone take that away. "I'll speak to my commanders," Adam said, his voice steady. "We'll help you prepare. We'll do whatever it takes." The elder gave a slight bow. "We will work together then. Our people are strong, but we must unite fully to stand a chance." As the elder left them, Adam turned to Vela, his expression somber. "It's not over yet, but we'll face it together. We'll protect our child." Vela took his hand, her touch comforting. "We will. No matter what happens, we'll be a family, and we'll keep fighting for that family." Adam squeezed her hand, taking in her words. This wasn't the life he had planned, but it was the life he was building now, and he would fight for it, just as fiercely as he had fought for every mission before this one. But this time, the stakes were higher. This time, it was personal. Over the next few days, Adam met with his commanders, and together, They devised a plan to prepare for the possibility of another attack. The Velerans, though still recovering from the last battle, were determined to defend their planet and their future. Adam was impressed by their resilience. They had been through so much, and yet they never lost hope. They were fighting for their very survival, just as Adam and Vela were fighting for their family. The days turned into weeks, and though the threat of the Ilarians loomed over them, Adam found himself at peace when he was with Vela. She was his anchor, the reason he kept going, even when the weight of the world seemed too heavy to bear. And as the day approached for the final battle, Adam knew that this fight, like the one before, would not just be about winning. It would be about building something that would last, something that would ensure that the future for both their people and their child would be a bright one.